keep it real with ya.
The other part that I think is also happening in these situations is that they don't fully understand what you mean. Like, they don't fully understand what a relationship with an asexual person looks like 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. They are only thinking in the immediates, right? So where they are at that point in life, say that you're both in your early 20s or whatever, where they are at that point in life, being with someone asexual might be totally cool, it might be fine, it's whatever, it doesn't really change anything or affect anything. They don't think ahead. They don't think about how does this relationship look when I'm 35? How does this relationship look when I'm 45? How does this relationship look when I'm in my 50s? They don't think about that. So, and this is also true for people in a relationship with someone who's allosexual but sex repulsed and doesn't want to have sex. They don't think about things like, are we going to have children? Are we going to adopt? How's that going to work? Are we going to get married? How's that going to work? And this is also common in outside of this, even outside of asexual and sexual pulse. People get in relationships when they're young and they don't think about the compatibility, like long-term compatibility. They think about how they're compatible with you in that moment. And in that moment, they're okay. So I'll talk about things from perspective of like maybe like a sexual post asexual woman, right? She gets in a relationship with a man. She's romantically attracted to him. She tells him, listen, I'm sex repulsed, I'm asexual, and I may not be sexually attracted to you, but I really love you and I want us to be together forever and like all of this stuff, right? And the guy says, oh, yeah, I totally support that. Great. And then, they've been together for about 3 years. Now everybody's asking, oh, you guys have been together for 3 years. When you getting married? Maybe the ace person isn't super comfortable with that. Maybe they even said that in the beginning. And then the guy was like, yeah, sure, I don't want to get married right now. But then, 3 years, 5 years down the road, it's like, well, now you're in a different stage of life and you're like, oh, I do want to get married and have kids. Well, how do you have kids when your partner is sex repulsed? You know, they're not gonna want to have sex and get pregnant and carry your baby. And a lot of time, and I hear that a lot too when it comes to asexual, sex repulsed women, is that the idea of them having sex and getting pregnant and giving birth is just kind of like, yeah, they don't really like it. Not to say that. And there are ace women who have kids and it's fine, but there are sex repulsed ace women who are just like, that's a part of it. That's a part of it for them. They would rather adopt. But that's not a conversation you have at the beginning of a relationship. Like, hey, you want to adopt kids? You want to have kids? I'm just letting you know I'm not carrying no kids in my body. People don't have that conversation. People don't have the conversation about what marriage looks like because there are a lot of people who may be okay with a certain type of relationship until they get married. And then when they are married, there are a lot of expectations that, well, on our wedding night, we're having sex, of course, right? Like that's what we're supposed to do. We can't consummate the marriage if we don't have sex. Like that, the marriage isn't real if we didn't have sex. Like I thought you would have understood this like automatically. Like I don't understand the problem. And just like that, now you got another problem. And I know some of you might be thinking that's not a big of an issue. Literally, my parents, not to say either of my parents are asexual or nothing like that, but they're allosexual. But literally, I've seen it in my parents, I've seen it in my family members. Your boyfriend, girlfriend is not the same as your husband and wife. And a lot of allosexual people think of this as common sense and they just kind of have it twirling around in the back of their mind. They never say it out loud, but people will turn into completely different people once they have your child or once you are married to them, because their idea of that dynamic looks way different than if y'all was just dating. But they won't say that out loud. And so when you are in a situation where you are telling your partner that you are asexual and what that means for you will probably mean, and it can mean multiple things. It can mean that you're okay with sex, but you're just not sexually attracted to them. It can mean that you're sex repulsed, so you never want to have sex. All of that stuff may be okay when you're a boyfriend or girlfriend. And in your early 20s, in a certain stage of life, you know what I mean? But once you get to the point where you are in a more serious relationship, the allosexual is automatically thinking more serious relationships look like this. So, yeah, you over here, but when I move you over here, this is what our relationship is going to look like. And they don't say that out loud. And that's a communication issue. And I hate it. I hate when people don't find out until they are actually married that these things that were like yellow flags are actually red flags. I wish people would just tell you they're red flags up front before you're out here signing papers and you got your whole family showing up to the wedding. I wish Allos don't tell you up front. And that's the part of it that is just so frustrating for me, but also for other people, because then when they finally realize, when the allosexual partner finally realizes that you were serious and that you aren't just going to change everything about yourself to accommodate this new stage of life that they want to live, they're going to leave you. And you are sitting here as the asexual person being like, I was honest. I did everything right. I told you I was ace. I told you what being asexual meant to me. You said that you were cool with it. And now suddenly you're not cool with it. Because they'll say something like, I've been thinking about it and I just don't think that I should be with an asexual person. I just don't think it's going to work out. They'll say some basic shit like that. Because a lot of people aren't good at saying exactly what they're feeling. But what they're usually feeling is, I thought that you would change once we've been together for a bit. I thought that you would change once we got older. I thought that you would change once the relationship became more serious or we were talking about marriage. I thought that you would change once we got married. I thought that you would change once we had kids and you really realized that we were going to be together forever. And they don't say that stuff. They'll just say, oh, I just decided that I shouldn't date an asexual person. And it's very frustrating. And I have a lot of sympathy for the asexual person in that way. And the only thing that I can think of, and sometimes there is no solution because, again, people will just lie. But the only thing I could think of in that situation that you could do is when you're having this conversation and they're like, yeah, cool, great, got it. You really talk about what this relationship looks like down the road. Because I find that guys will tell me they are so cool with something. But then when I start talking to them about what this actually looks like I'll use the example of the Christian guy who secretly thought that he could convert me, right? I say, hey, I'm an atheist. I hope you don't mind. And he says, yeah, that's totally fine. Let's date. And then I say, okay, but before we do all of that, I just want you to understand what this means, right? Okay. One, I'm not going to lie and pretend that I'm Christian if I meet your family. Two, I'm not going to church with you. And if someone asks me why I'm not going to church with you, I'll tell them it's because I'm an atheist. Three, you cannot convert me to Christianity. I've already gone through the process. I was born a Christian and I have walked away from it. There's no converting me back. There's no trauma or anything that's blocking me that you can magically fix. 4, down the line, relationship wise, and this is as we get into we decide that we want to be together long term. Down the line, if we were to get married, we're not going to a church. If we were to have children, they're not being raised Christian. These are my lines, and I'm telling you, as we move along in the relationship, as we start thinking about these long-term things, these milestones of a relationship, what that looks like for me, what I want out of that, and what I'm not willing to compromise on. When I say, and the same thing, if I say that I'm asexual and they're like, yeah, cool, making sure they understand, okay, so you know that I'm not going to look up one day and suddenly feel sexual attraction, right? Like, you know that this is something that I've never felt, is something that I'm never going to feel. And you have to be okay with that as your friends and family find out, as we talk about progressing the relationship. If we move in together, we get married, we have kids. Like, I'm not going to be sexually attracted to you at any of those points. Now, I will love you, but I won't magically experience sexual attraction one day. There's not no secret kink that I have that you can, show up in the bedroom with one day. Like, I wouldn't even leave room for that open. And I feel like sometimes people try to leave room. Like they try to be like, oh, but maybe something might happen later on, just to kind of like keep them engaged and not want to fully shut down the possibility so that they don't leave in that moment. But you're setting yourself up for failure, because if it doesn't actually happen, if you don't magically like experience sexual attraction one day, then they're gonna leave, because they was hoping for something to happen that you could not predict would happen. If you have told them that you're never gonna experience sexual attraction, and like 10 years down the line you magically are sexually attracted to them, good for you, great, that's totally fine. But if you leave any type of impression that who you are and what your sexual orientation is going to change at some point in the future, you're setting yourself up for failure. And they're going to expect that change. And when they realize they didn't get that change, they're going to want to leave, or they're going to be extremely hurt, and it's going to cause like a strain on the relationship. So being completely honest when you're having those relationship conversations about like, what does our future look like? Being completely honest about how your asexuality looks 5, 10, 20 years into a relationship, I think it will be kind of helpful. I mean, will it hurt if they decide in that conversation that they want to leave? Yes. I can't spare you the pain of a relationship ending, but hopefully when they have a full understanding of it, you can reduce the chances that they're going to be like, well, I actually truly, if I was being honest with you, thought that it was something else. And now I realize that it's exactly what you said. So then now I don't want the relationship anymore. Hopefully can reduce the chances of stuff like that happening. Fingers crossed. And then the last thing I want to talk about that frustrates me in these situations is that there has been a rise or increasing popularity, I guess, of like polyamory. Now I'm just gonna say I have no problem with polyamory as a concept. I know some polyamorous people. You know the people that I'm talking about. Like they are exactly the stereotype when you think of a polyamorous couple. And it's no shade to them, but I noticed that whenever I meet polyamorous people or polyamorous couples, they like the same type of people every single time. It's just I just noticed that, just autism, pattern recognition. There's some things happening there. Moving on. Um, there's nothing wrong with being polyamorous. There's nothing wrong with being non-monogamous, having open relationships and stuff like that. But the issue that I'm seeing more and more is that, first of all, too, polyamory is not just having an open relationship. I see a lot of people confusing those two. Having an open relationship is not the same as having a polyamorous relationship. But that's another video. I notice more and more people using polyamory as kind of a way to get out of all of the scenarios that I've talked about in this video and the last video. And it's very frustrating. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable because while if I was to be in a relationship, it'd probably be like a QPR. And so I would not care if the relationship was open or not. Because I mean, yeah, I ain't having sex with you. You go do us up with somebody else. It's whatever. I noticed that a lot of people are trying to use polyamory as a way to save their relationship. So, and this is not just specific to asexual people, but I'm seeing it more with asexual people as well, that they're adopting this behavior of, okay, if I am asexual, that means that we have to have a polyamorous relationship. When, really they just mean open relationship. But we have to have a polyamorous relationship because my partner's not going to want to be with me if I don't have sex with them. But you shouldn't be in a polyamorous or a non-monogamous relationship simply because you don't want your partner to leave you. It's perfectly okay to say, I want a monogamous relationship with no sex. Like that's perfectly reasonable for you to want out of a relationship. Now, allos will make you feel like it's not reasonable, but it is. Like that can, if that's your line, that's your line. You know what I mean? But I'm seeing more and more people being like, well, because I'm sex repulsed, I told my partner that they can go sleep with other people and that we can be poly so that they can go get their needs met somewhere else and but we can stay together and stuff like that. And it's just weird. And it's the weird part is there are situations where the man says, okay, we need to have a polyamorous relationship because you won't sleep with me. And there's some toxicity and stuff that's in that too. But I see more and more that it's the asexual person or the sex repulsed allosexual person who is offering this up as a don't leave me type of thing. And it makes me very, very uncomfortable because if you're not a poly person, if you are not someone who is comfortable with a non-monogamous relationship, opening up your relationship as a way to try and save it is not going to work. Because what's going to happen and what happens sometimes, y'all know, is they're going to find the person that is having sex with them and that they form their bond, because a lot of allosexuals form bonds through sexual intimacy. It's just a thing. We know it happens. And then they're going to be like, what the fuck am I staying with you for? I'm getting everything I want out of this. You know what I mean? Like, to agree to that simply because you think that it will make your partner not leave you, even though you're not comfortable with the idea of your partner having sex with other people, it's just a big no. It's just a big no for me. It feels wrong. It makes me uncomfortable to know that people who are not super comfortable with this are trying to make themselves comfortable with it because they don't want to lose their relationship. Sometimes you got to lose the relationship. If you and your partner truly are not compatible and they say they think sex is a need. They're not going to die without sex, but a lot of allos say that sex is a need, right? If they say that I need sex and you don't want to give them sex, then the relationship is not that compatible. And it's okay if the relationship isn't compatible. And it's okay if that's the reason that the relationship isn't compatible. There are allosexual couples who have great sexual chemistry, who are super in love with each other, but one of them doesn't want to have kids, so they have to break up. I know allosexual relationships where they're like, this is my best friend. This is my soulmate. We are sexually attracted to each other. We are romantically attracted to each other. I love them with every inch of their being. But they cheated, so the relationship ain't compatible. And they break up. People break up all the time. I don't even remember the percentages of marriages that fail, but it's like half, right? Like, people get divorced all the time. They break up all the time. And they go on to live their lives and meet other people and date more people and fall in love with other people. People will get married like 2-3 times, and it happens. Does it hurt? Yes. It hurts to have a relationship end. It hurts to be broken up with. It hurts to be divorced. You found somebody that you thought was safe, that you thought loved you, and now they're gone again. And it's a struggle for people to rebuild after they lose those relationships. But it's okay. Offering to make your relationship polyamorous or open because you think that will make it so your partner doesn't leave you is not the move. And I just hope that those of you that are asexual, and it's a lot of you, those of you that are asexual that follow me who want to have romantic relationships, don't do these two things. One, like I said, don't make the relationship polyamorous or non-monogamous if you're not comfortable with it. Don't do that. The other part is don't try to force yourself to have sex because you're scared your partner's going to leave you. If you're doing anything because you're scared your partner's going to leave you, the relationship is already over, okay? It's time for you to walk away. Don't do those two things. And then for the rest of you who are in the beginning stages of a relationship or who are probably already in a relationship, don't lie to your partner about your lines. Don't lie to them about your lines when it comes to sex. Don't lie to them about your lines when it comes to things like having children. Don't lie to them about your lines when it comes to marriage and what is expected of you as a husband or wife or whatever the gender neutral version of that is. Don't lie about that. Don't hide that, thinking that if I just don't say anything, then the relationship will be good. It will not be good, because all of that stuff will come out anyway. And it's better to come out early than to come out after you've been married for 20 years. So thank you guys for listening to me ramble about this. And I guess, the question is it okay for your partner to break up with you because you're asexual? Yeah, sure. I mean, it's okay for your partner to break up with you for any reason. It don't really matter what the reason is. If one person doesn't want to be in a relationship, then they leave. That's just how it is. Is it ace phobic? It depends on the reasoning and the communication, if there was proper communication. But honestly, if the person was ace phobic, they wouldn't have gotten in a relationship with you in the first place. So, that. Is it some type of oppression? Not really. It kind of comes down to a relationship dynamic and communication. And like I said, the reason why I kept talking about allosexuals who are sex repulsed is that it's kind of a similar issue. Is that if sex is a non-negotiable for your partner and they break up with you over that, it hurts, yes, but they have a right to do that because you guys are not compatible. And if you're not compatible, then you should not be together, and you should not try to force a relationship with someone that you're not compatible with just because you don't want to be single. And being single ain't that bad, I mean, ain't nobody eating my snacks out my refrigerator, you know what I'm saying? All of my cheese is always there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble about this for however many videos or minutes that you choose to watch it. I appreciate all the love and support from you guys. Like I said, join the Discord. You can comment below what your opinions are about this. Tell me your experiences about this. If you're in the Discord, you can also comment in the Discord about your experiences with this particular subject or any particular stories that you heard about this. I've already done the plugs with the Instagram and coffee, but if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that. Support me on coffee if you feel like it. But what's most important is that just the engagement, having people comment on the videos and sharing their stories and sharing stories that they had heard from other people. It's very, very helpful. Like I said, I'm always open to changing my mind about things. So I'm always reading the comments and trying to see what people are saying differently. Or how people feel differently from something that I said. But until I see those comments, until you decide to post those things, I just want you guys to take care of yourself because you deserve it. Drink your water, eat your snacks, take naps. No one can live in this body but you. So it is your responsibility to make sure that this body works. I love you guys. I will see you next Sunday. Bye.